we lost an entire industry. It's not like our industry has an opportunity to go do anything else because there's nothing else we can do.
Well,
There's only so many people that can, there's very few places. That's one of the main things that I have done over the last year is help people rewrite their resumes because they don't feel like they have the right kind of skill set. But it's funny because if you sit down and you think about what is it all that we do, like say for example a tour manager. Well, problems, right? Exactly. You go, okay, well, what do you do? Let's break this down into what are your responsibilities. Oh, well, you know what? Travel and logistics. Okay, well, that would work for air freight, wouldn't it?
Welcome to the Music Combine. We have a very special episode today. We were fortunate enough to be introduced to this person through our good friend Patrick King, aka P King, who's been on 2 different episodes on this show, one the Roadie Roundtable and one of his own. And P King was like, "You got to check what this woman's doing for the performance industry. She has worked at Rat Sound." Has toured for years and years and years as a sound person and really has, circled the wagons around the performance industry and really from the technical side of through her website, roadiecare.com. And so it's my great pleasure today for her to be on this show and kind of explain what they're doing. But could you all please welcome Miss Sandy Espinoza?
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being on. You and I have been talking for a minute about stuff and, kind of explain to everybody what the mission of roadiecare.com is.
Basically, I solve people's problems and I feed people. Somebody asked me the other day, how would you explain what you do to a 5-year-old? And I thought for a minute and I said, well, that's what I do. So it's pretty much about it. I advocate for people who need it in whatever their situation is. And if they need mental health, I certainly know the places to send them for help for that. If they need rehab, I know the places to send them to for that. If sadly we've lost quite a lot of people, just not just this year, but period. And those that need it, I know how to take care of their final arrangements as well. So, and this year especially, obviously not so much this year because we've only been into it for 2 weeks, but last year was obviously pretty bad from March on. Nobody knew what was going on or for a while when the next meal was coming because unemployment has been so screwed up in so many states. Some people were getting it, some people weren't. Some people had families they needed to feed. Regardless, they still needed to eat. I figured out a way to get them fed. So, it's been pretty much... I started in this industry when I was 12, and which was quite a while ago, obviously. I was running Spotlight when I was 12, and then turned into an LD, and then at 19 jumped into audio and stayed into audio for... now on, or back from 18, 19 on. I worked for the 3rd largest sound company in the world, which was Electrotech. And we had, I was the only woman out of 800 guys, 3 shops, LA, London, and Nashville. And we had Guns N' Roses, Def Leppard, Rod Stewart, Nine Inch Nails, Rush, all the big ones for our clients. And I made sure that if there was a problem, I took care of it, regardless of whatever the problem was on tour, in the shop, the whole situation. So I've always been the problem solver. I've always been everybody's mother, sister, cousin, whatever, that if they had a problem, they came to me. So I've always advocated for people I mean, forever, since I was 17, I guess 16. Peacekeeper at home too when I was a kid. So it just was a natural progression that I've done this for so long that when all this started happening last year and people were having problems, they've always called me, especially for safety problems, because I've been one of the major leaders in keeping our crew safe for many years, especially when the stages were collapsing. I was getting calls from people who are either on the stages or watching the stages collapse. So I've been
and you're speaking of like the Sugarland incident and things of that nature.
I lost a friend of mine on that, and I actually worked with the governor, the then governor of Indiana, about that. I saw pictures of that, but never ever will be able to get out of my head. It was pretty bad. But I did actually wind up going back to school after that and became a dual federal authorized OSHA safety trainer.
Oh, wow.
So our people, when they needed to talk to somebody at OSHA, they were scared. They didn't like talking to OSHA, but they needed to talk to OSHA. So I was the intermediary of, they could talk to me and I would talk to OSHA, and whatever the problem was would get handled. So I've just always been the problem solver. Sorry?
Who to take the reins there?
You know what? Somebody had to. So I did.
Yeah.
So when this whole thing happened with COVID, I don't want to get busted by Target. When this whole thing happened with this is what happens when your power and internet goes out, because it's 50-mile-an-hour gale force winds outside. So I was going to do this no matter what. So we're shopping in Target because they have internet and power.
Hey, why not? Yeah, because usually they have a Starbucks there, right?
Right, exactly. One does what one must, right? So, so that's why I'm here. But anyway, so when all this started happening last year, people started calling me going, help, I can't get my unemployment check. Help, I can't feed my kid. Help, I can't feed myself. Help, what do? I have no work. I can't pay my rent. So I've become...
You're going into it just as fresh as anybody else and being like, okay, I'm getting a bunch of calls about this and I don't know how I can help. How can I help? And then you find a way to do it. So how does that happen specifically?
I figured out a way to, I wanted to figure out the simplest way. I have to tell you, first off, the three major organizations that I can't say enough wonderful things about them are Music Cares, the Actors Fund, and Behind the Scenes. They've always supported us in the music industry, and I have nothing but major love for them. They're just phenomenal organizations. So I could never, at this point at least, nor do I want to, compete with them, because they do so much more than I could possibly do right now. But I figured, you know what, there's got to be something I can do to take care of the immediate problems that, they take care of a longer term problem, help the people that didn't have, and it just grew from there. So it's been sort of it was very simple, but the concept of it was pretty phenomenal. Like I said, the people that had helped the ones that didn't. And that's pretty much how we got a lot of people through last year, that needed the help. So I was grateful to be able to do it, and so very grateful to the people that did help the ones that didn't, And the donations, I put up a GoFundMe because a lot of people didn't want to hassle with dealing with gift cards, which is understandable. And I just said, you know what, just throw it in the GoFundMe and I'll take care of it for you and arrange the gift cards to the people who need it, which is what we did. So it's been nationwide, and we fed a lot of people in a very simple way,
It's simple, but it's not so simple just to be, I mean, it's just got to be in your character to be able to do that and go to bat for people that you care about more than yourself. And that's a huge debt of gratitude for you for doing that. And what's it like now going into 2021 with another year of not knowing what's going to happen in that community, in the live events community?
A lot of people are nervous, obviously. I think everybody's waiting, and last week probably didn't help a lot of people's nerves. What happened in Washington, with all the shenanigans and stuff. So I think everybody's sort of waiting to see what's going to happen with the new administration. They are saying that things are going to be better and they're going to help us. We'll see if they do. I hope that they do go ahead and go back to the extent PUA where it was 600 a week. I don't believe anybody was sitting around. I mean, we lost an entire industry. It's not like our industry has an opportunity to go do anything else because there's nothing else we can do.
Well,
You know,
also,
there's only so many people that can, I mean, there's very few places. That's one of the main things that I have done over the last year is help people rewrite their resumes because they don't feel like they have the right kind of skill set. But it's funny because if you sit down and you think about what is it all that we do, like say for example a tour manager. Well, problems, right? Exactly. You go, okay, well, what do you do? Let's break this down into what are your responsibilities. Oh, well, you know what? Whatever, travel and logistics. Okay, well, that would work for air freight, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, I guess it would. So we do have skills that are a little bit more mainstream, but we, I think, as a people are different. We have a different work ethic than a lot of people do. We're out there, we do the job, we do whatever it takes to get the job done, you know, and we're used to dealing with really high levels of stress. A lot of our people are older, have been in the industry for longer, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of companies don't want to hire people that are not 18 and right, exactly. They don't want to hire them to stock Costco or stock, you know, any grocery store. Actually, Costco has been great. They've hired a lot of older people, but, you know, or mature people over 18. But a lot of the stores, grocery stores, big box stores, whatever stores, don't really want anybody over 30 because they don't want to deal with insurance or they don't want to deal with, you know, I guess they feel they can get more work out of somebody 18 than somebody 30 or 40 or 50 or something. So a lot of our people have been aged out. A lot of our people are fighting. They're out there trying to work. But let's be realistic. How many Walmarts need greeters?
Yeah.
You know, I mean seriously.
There's no such thing as a takeout concert. You know, I know a lot of people complain about the food and service and beverage industry of having their issues and their plight and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like you're right. I never even thought about it that way. We've lost a whole entire industry over 10 months, 12 months.
March, well, if you give it March 14th,
right? In California is when Newsom decided to shut the state down. So
yeah,
I remember sitting here in my house, and I remember my buddy Stephen Shaw, who at the time was the tour manager for Cage the Elephant, and he goes, "You doing all right out there?" And I hadn't been watching TV, and I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You know, they just shut down California." I go, "Come on, really?" And, you know, sure enough, it was like all non-essential businesses are closed. Have a nice day.
There's a lot of non-essential businesses that are essential to people's livelihoods. So essential to who?
Yeah, essential is relative, right? But when nobody knew from day to day if you were supposed to wear a mask or not wear a mask or do this or go to a restaurant or not go to a restaurant, or I mean it had changed so drastically in the beginning to where it is now because nobody really knew. I mean, I was house sitting at that time for a friend of mine who was out with Testament, and I was calling him, and he was in Europe. And it was Peking's friend, Jeff. And I was calling him every day and telling him, hey, do you know what's going on? He's like, yeah, it's the weirdest thing. They keep closing the borders behind us. I go, yeah, you guys better get on an airplane. And they did. And they got in the last day that airports were open, literally that afternoon. So, I mean, it was scary. I had somebody else that was out with another band that was in South America. And they got in that night, like 10 o'clock that night. After that, although they say now, oh, if you were an American citizen, you could have gotten in, but that's not what we were being told then. We were being told here in Los Angeles, look, if you're not in by midnight, you're not getting in. So there's a lot of stress for people to get everybody in time, you know? So
yeah, definitely. it was sobering to say the least.
Yeah. And things have changed. I have to tell you, they go from opening up restaurants to outside eating to not outside eating to takeout to not takeout. Literally, you have to watch the news every week to find out what's going on. It really changes that rapidly, So how there's no way you can run an industry such as ours on something that fast.
On a whim,
It takes. I know you can't, because obviously, you need to advance shows and book a place and advertise it, the whole 9 yards. So there's been
so you can't. It's like, how do you do that now?
I mean, it's absolutely terrifying. I mean, we talked to friends of ours who are booking agents on the mid to large level, and unless they were CAA, Endeavor, William Morris, or any of the other bigger ones, I mean, they basically, Live Nation just pulled all the shows. And like, if you look at Live Nation's roster, I mean, not that we know if it's even going back to that, but like, the smallest venue is House of Blues or the Palladium at that level or size.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, when you say you've lost the whole entire industry, we've lost a whole entire set of touring, essentially. There's no more, what's going to happen to the mid to smaller in between level shows? Are we going to go to package shows? Or what's going to happen? Is that going to mean there's less jobs because there's less tours?
When their shows do come back, the prices got to get, they're going to be jacked up. And I just
give you a little bit of a bump. Yeah.
So, I have friends that are like big show people. They go to shows like all the time. That's what they do. Like, and they were getting, I guess, tickets for next year. I forget which, it was like a metal band, but he was complaining. He's like, yeah, it's like $60 more than it was last year already. But you got to think, making up for lost time. 1, 2, they got to pay the crew, they got to pay all these people, and then the artist. The artist gets the maybe a quarter of that. It's not all for the artist; it's for everybody that's involved in the show, the expenses. So, it's. I'm hopeful, but at the same point, it's all you got is hope and faith that this something is going to turn around and then make up for lost time when the doors do open again. Is that even going to happen? Is that possible? How much more can with the PPP second round going out? You hope that these venues have applied for that and then are just basically skating by on just keeping their doors open and minimizing their operational expenditures just to the point where they could get by and wait till things get better so they can have shows again. So it's just really an unpredictable thing. It's not going to be more steady anymore. And like you said, Sandy, you got to plan this. They plan this stuff out way in advance. And it's like, well, is it going to be, how do we plan for this? How do we plan for this when it's not a stable marketplace anymore? And I don't want to keep going back to the dire, like, oh, we're screwed. But like we on the show have been focusing on what bands can do. And we work with a company called Veeps, and like we endorse them very much about like having shows at these clubs and being able to hire road crews for those individual shows. But that's probably not enough shows to be able to put more money back in their pocket. But it is a way to be able to, like our friend Matt Woods, he was one of the roadies on the show. He works for Trivium, and he was able to, they flew him down during the pandemic.
Twice.
Oh, nice.
Shows. Yeah. These live stream shows. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's a little trying to subsidize for the artist, trying to subsidize for the road crew. It's probably not enough, but to make a big dent or to make up for that lost time, but it's a start and a way to get, engaged with their fan base, the bands to be engaged with their fan base, and a way for the bands to hire their road crew back to help them set up these shows, because they do need that help. It's just, you can't, maybe you can, but as far as I see it, those live streams are more few and far between unless you're targeting cities, right, on an advertising level. So like you get more granular about it and you say, okay, and I'm just thinking out loud here. You have a show, you're going to target Florida. It's going to be in Orlando. You're going to target Florida with advertising for that show. You're going to hire a road crew for that show, and it's all going to be about that city. Right. And then they could go to another city and they could be all about that city. That would probably be a better way to subsidize for the lack of live events going on right now. They're doing these what is this, drive-in show stuff? How do you feel? How do you feel about those shows?
I understand. I've been experienced with the drive-in shows, as well as I know very well about the Veep shows because they are doing them in town in LA as well. And I think the streaming they do is phenomenal. I would like to see more bands do that and actually donate some of the money and take care of their own road crews. I think that would be right. I would love to go ahead and have a bunch of bands do Veeps in different cities and donate part of the proceeds to Roadie Care so I can take care of not only their crews, but other people's crews.
Yeah.
That would be something I'm hoping to do with Veeps somewhere soon if we can pull some bands together. The drive-ins are really expensive. It's from what I'm told is around 40 grand to put on a drive-in show, and
now,
then you have to sort of
expensive. Why is it? Because the cars have to get in there, or is it like because they have to put up a stage, or
you need usually a bigger space? It's not like a club. So when I saw 311 one up in Ventura, it was at the fairgrounds, and obviously a fairground is pretty large, but you had people miles out in their cars. It wasn't like they were like parked on top of each other.
Right.
You need 5 to 6 times the area that you would normally for a band that size. So
plus you have to deal with where do you put them? How do you keep people in the car? How do you keep them herded? What happens if they have to go to the bathroom? How do you make sure they don't go ahead and cross-contaminate each other? I mean, it's a whole
gray area.
Yeah, it is. What about food? What about concessions? What about merch? I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. Security, yeah, exactly.
Because
I mean, there's a lot.
You're not just hurting people off. If there's an accident, fire, or anything else, now you have cars trying to get out of there.
Makes it that much more dangerous.
Makes it that much more dangerous.
So what was it like, Mike, when did you have to tune on the radio to hear it?
Yeah, you tuned on the radio. I mean, we stood in my buddy's bed of his truck and we were kind of far out. They sounded great. I mean, it was awesome. You know, they had the cars literally 6 feet apart on each side, and there were single rows with 20 feet in between. So like if you were to walk to Sandy's point about, you know, concessions, bathrooms, and everything else, you basically, and the bathrooms were cleaned right after someone else was in them.
Okay.
So you have to now hire more personnel to even do the sanitization, to minimize contraction of a virus.
And probably a lot more bathrooms, right?
Yeah,
because depending on how many people they allow in.
Yep.
So it's you know, the amount of cost compared to what you're actually going to make. To be perfectly honest, I don't know that it's worth it with all. And then you've got to have a COVID officer. You've got to do not only backstage in front of the stage, but you've also got to deal with backstage. How do you make sure the band is safe? How do you make sure that the crew is safe? How do you keep everybody away from each other? What do you do about COVID tests? And of course, it's going to be different in every single state. With masks in California, obviously you can't be out of your house without a mask on. Or else mayhem ensues, you know, and if you're smart, you wear a mask anyway because you want to try to protect yourself as much as possible. It's just not smart, especially with the surge that we've got going on right now, to not be wearing a mask.
Yeah, California's a little banana pants at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little nuts.
I mean, I think now it's gone up to like 3 hours to get into. If you have COVID and you're in, ambulances are literally lined around the block to get in.
17 hours.
Is it 17 hours now? Good times.
Oh.
So yeah, everybody's doing their best to try to stay home at this point. So, you know, this will be my big outing for the week. Probably, you know, aside from that, I'll be locked down and not going out just because, you know what, you don't want to take a chance.
Yeah.
Who knows? Especially now there's this new strain from the UK
that quicker.
Nobody knew anything about. And then I read something online about there was a strain that apparently doesn't seem to respond to the vaccine at all.
Well, that's my thing. And I'm not going to politics about the vaccine, but like if there's new strands and you're getting a vaccine, then it's a new strand. So that vaccine's like not even relevant anymore. Yeah. So
I think it's a lot like the flu, you know, the flu vaccine where they hope they hit something close, but
thanks. I'm not putting that in me.
Yeah. A lot of people aren't. So I think they're waiting to see what happens before they do.
You're allowed to put in whatever you want.
Anyway.
My mom has an autoimmunity. She can't take anything because she'll kill her.
So Sandy, back to Roadie Care. So I know that you and I have spoken a little bit to the point of that. You do a lot of work as far as lobbying would be kind of a strong term, but you do a lot of advocating with state senators and people in Washington. Explain to me a little bit about that part of Roadie Cares that you've kind of you helm essentially, because you're kind of a one-woman show. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you certainly are. And lobbying, I think, would be an accurate term.
Okay.
I don't have a problem picking up the phone and calling anybody about anything. And one of the issues that I had was, although they gave out $15 billion recently in the budget, none of it went to crew. And that was sort of a problem that I had. It's fine that we're paying rent on venues, but they're empty venues. And I have real live people that have real live needs, like feeding their real live kids. And
Yeah.
where's the money for that? So I've done a fair amount of calling of Congress people, everything from state representatives, local representatives, all the way up to all different states. I tweeted constantly for like a week. I've made no shortage of contacts, and actually a couple of pretty high up people were very interested in trying to figure out how could we go ahead and help. What's the next thing that we could do? How could we make it where people were getting the help that they needed? And then all of a sudden things changed last week. So I don't think until after the new administration gets in, I'm going to be able to really sit down and talk to anybody until they're settled down back in their offices and back to work again.
And God bless you for doing it. It's an honorable thing to be doing. I mean, it's a huge initiative that a lot of nobody else is taking, right? So to be able to do that is amazing. One, two, it's like I like to compare our government appreciation for the arts as opposed to like Europe's appreciation for the arts. And like, I don't know what they're doing in Sweden and stuff, but like, I feel like we missed the mark on the arts. Like even in music in schools, it's not a thing that needs to be there anymore. They took it away from a lot of the kids that I teach. They don't have a music program anymore. So it's like, we got to make that known that it's really needed. And what music's done for me, what's done for Mike, what it's done for you, it saved my life. It made me pay attention in school. It's so important to have that. And if we can't take care of the people that help do these events that aren't around anymore, what are we as a society? Like, what does that make us? I mean, who are we? We just care about businesses need to run. People need to serve food. These essential businesses need to stay open. But what about the other people that are not getting that care? That is a very, very deep issue. It needs to be addressed. And I'm sure it's going to be a very much ongoing issue. And again, thank you for going to bat for that. And I mean, when we had Roadie Roundtable, it was like, everybody was really emotional, and it hit me in a way as a musician, not realizing how important the integral that the road crew is to making a show happen. And it was just really emotional. It was really emotional. And I just really want to see something happen where, these people can be helped. And that's like, it's like, okay, so what now? Where do we go from here?
Where we go from here, I guess, hopefully one foot in front of the other. Hopefully things will get better. I know that, as I've pointed out to so many government people, yes, you paid $15 billion trillion for this bill, but you know what? You paid rent on empty buildings. You didn't feed anyone. How do you plan on doing that? I can do a show in a pig field. I've done plenty of shows in pig fields. I'm an audio engineer. I can do a show anywhere.
Yeah.
But you know what? Shows aren't going to be done in a building if there's no people to do them.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you have to make sure that the people are taken care of too. And that's kind of where I feel like they've missed the mark so far. Hopefully that will change. I'm still trying to feed people. If people want to help, they're more than welcome to go to the website and donate or contact me. I've got an email address. There's a form on the site. If they want to help, they want to adopt a roadie, I'm more than happy to help them do that with a gift card. And I've got certainly people that would be more than willing to use it and feed themselves and feed their families. Because still, there's a lot of states that don't get unemployment. I have one roadie who hasn't gotten unemployment in about 18 weeks.
Jesus
and he's got a full
Christ.
family. So he's freaking. And yeah, right. Wife, couple of kids, and one daughter is disabled. He's like, what do I do? You know, I don't.
It's interesting you say that, because that triggers something. Before we came on, I was watching CBSN and they were talking. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the crisis with unemployment and accounts being froze by Bank of America with the unemployment cards. And like, there was one guy in a similar situation. He wasn't a roadie, but he was a carpenter, and his daughter can't speak. She has developmental disabilities that limit her from doing anything. And they were withholding 10 grand of money that he needed to support his daughter and himself. And they finally resolved the issue. But there's other people, like there was another woman they interviewed who was in the same situation. I'm sorry, I live in California, but you know, and I know you do probably a lot of work with the legislator, but they're absolutely fucked. And you know, when you start withholding money from people, that's where I have a real problem, especially folks that are in need. And in those situations, whether it's our friends in the touring community or even if it's just the person, you know, it pisses me off when kids are being meant to go without because some fucking politicians can't get their shit straight. Or some
it's rough.
Banks can't do it either, you know.
It's rough being at the helm of something else when you have to almost have to like lose control of what you've been doing for so long. How do you pivot? You know, how do you pivot as somebody in the industry that's doing the road crew, the sound tech? I mean, I have friends that were furloughed from Live Nation, and now they're not going to be going back to work. So, you know, one of my great friends, he doesn't know what he's going to do, and that's what he's been doing. He made it in the industry doing what you do, Sandy, and it's concerning, you know, because he got a house now. He is, you know, his girlfriend, his family, just like anybody else, and it's more like, okay, maybe he should go back to doing recording and start recording people and like trying to think of where he can apply the knowledge that he learned. Because before he got into live sound, he was doing just recording and learning how to record and all that. And then he went into live sound. So I think a lot of people in the industry may have these other areas, like, you know, like Steve Shaw, right? One of our guests, he's recording, right? So like something he could do, but you don't know if he wants to do that, right? But at the same point, you got to start thinking, what can I do right now? How can
Exactly right. You have to think out of the box. You have to take what are your skills, and even though it's not maybe something you want to do forever, you have to think about what do you do right now. I mean, I've got a lot of people, a lot of crew people that have called me up saying they're going to repossess my car. They're going to repossess my house. One of the top LDs in the world is currently out driving Amazon right now.
Yeah.
Because he has a family and... Yeah, I mean, it's like, and Amazon only needs so many people. They don't need everybody. Yeah. So it's like that you do what you have to do. And it may not be what you want to do, but if it's going to go ahead and pay the bills and keep you in a house, then you just have to suck it up and do it. You know, I've had jobs on the side. You know, I was a single mom. And there were times that I'd pick up side work I didn't particularly want to do. But you know what? Aside from working 100 hours a week, I still needed to make a few extra bucks to make sure the rent was paid and the kid had school books or extra clothes or whatever it was he wanted. And that's what I did. So you do what you have to do. The one thing I do want to talk about is I want to touch on the mental health aspect, which really concerns me a lot. I want people that have got that issue, if they're feeling, if they can go on to the site. There's actually is a phone number there under resources where you can go to a 12-step meeting online. There's the phone numbers for the different crisis lines, whatever it is that you need to call or text. It can be totally private that way as well, whatever they want. But to reach out for help if they need it, because unfortunately we've had in our industry too many suicides. too many people that have lost hope, too many people that have had murder suicides. I mean, I get 4 a.m. calls constantly from people that are freaking out, or I have to talk off the ledge, which I'm fine with if that's what they need. But you know what? I really want people to understand it's totally okay to feel like you're not okay. And it's totally not a sign of weakness to ask for help. So please, people love you. People want you to be here on the other side of this. We will get through this. This whole industry will get through this. We have gone through worse. We will get through this. But please, please, if you need help, go get it, because we want you here when we're on the other side of this, looking at it going, you know what, we got through it and we're still here. Yeah. But please don't. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I know right now this feels like this is going to go on forever and it's permanent. It's not permanent. We are going to get through it. So please reach out to your friends, to your family, to a suicide crisis line, to anyone, to me, to your best friend, to whoever you need to. Just talk it out. Don't do something that the next day you don't realize things could look a whole lot different, you know?
I'm into that. I'm into that. Seriously. This is heavy. This is a heavy conversation. And
it is. So I'm sorry for it being so heavy, truly. It's definitely, you know what, it's subjects that people are, they're nervous to talk about these subjects, but they're subjects that I need to roll the rock off of and shine some light on it. And then after you shine some light on it, then people, that actually starts conversations. And as long as people are talking about it, then all of a sudden it's not so scary anymore, you know?
Agreed. Puts it into perspective.
Yeah. You're not the only one that feels that way. And if you don't feel like you're the only one that feels that way, then you don't feel so alone.
Yeah. Definitely.
And trust me, everybody in the industry is, I don't know any person in the industry, and I know a lot of them, a lot of people. I don't know anybody who's not feeling a little bit uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable or wondering what's going to happen this year or next year or the year after, or how are they going to feed their kids, or how are they going to keep the lights on or the rent paid or the cat fed or whatever. It's totally okay to have those questions. It's totally okay to reach out for help. It's totally okay to go to Music Cares or the Actors Fund or the bigger orgs and get whatever help you need to get. There's no shame in asking for help. And that's one thing I know. There's a great organization called Musically Fed, and they do in the major music cities, Los Angeles, Nashville. Her name is Maria, is the lady who runs it. She does these giant food drives for people in the industry. And I had, and you go ahead and you sign up for a spot, and they have food donated, and you get in line in that spot. And you know, if you have a number for that day, you go and they load up your car with fresh vegetables and whatever else they can get from the grocery stores for you, so you can take that home. And that works out great for people that are in the major areas where they're going to. What I do is I do something a little different. I'm dealing with people that aren't in the major communities, that maybe don't have a food pantry or don't have anywhere to go for food. So we work out well together, as you know, she does her thing and her organization, and we do ours. But I had somebody who needed assistance at one of her food drives, and although he was more than in need, he was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want people to know that he was in need. Although the whole industry at this point is in need. And I had to sit there and really have this discussion with him of, dude, I know you've got pride. We've all got pride. But at some point, you have to be realistic and understand we all, you know what, we all take care of each other. And so get what you need now and pay it forward when you can. Because there's always going to be somebody you can help, you know? And don't ever be too proud to ask for help, whether it's food or assistance or whatever it is. Do not be too proud, because you can always.
It always goes back to you know, pride can be a killer.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's one of those things that something we talk about on the show a lot, but doesn't really apply to this situation. But people can't get out of their own way sometimes. And, you know, I plead to you, if you know somebody in the touring community and you're listening to this, going out and asking them, every day to say, hey, are you okay? It can go a long way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just recently had a friend of mine from high school call me, and he goes, it told me his wife had passed away on Christmas night from COVID.
Oh no.
And every day I call him to say, hey man, you all right? Because it's like Groundhog's Day. I go, yep, I know. But still, it's as long as someone knows that you care. Because I think that also too, inside of the touring community, it's a very lonely spot. We sacrifice, or I have in the past sacrificed, and people in the touring community have sacrificed their home lives and their families to go out and do a job that they really love. And that can be to have that much mission behind something can be a very lonely place to be.
Absolutely.
And it's not, and it's, it's almost like being on a pirate ship. It's like go to town, storm the town, leave. And, not many people, not a lot of people, some of these guys don't even have families, in a lot of ways. This, the road is their family.
Yeah.
The crews they have crew families.
I'll tell you what, every day in my life, I miss that camaraderie of being on tour. There's just something about it that unless you've done it, unless you've been on a big tour, unless you've worked on stuff that's gone out and you're in a bus every day and everybody's doing the same job and working towards the same goal. And, you fight like brothers and sisters, but make up at the end of the day because it was all worth it for the show. It's just one of those things. It's like one for all and all for one,
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with a lady who is in charge of another organization, and she was suffering a lot of burnout because she had, so much stress. It was on her, and she was taking it very seriously, as she should. But I had to remind her, and nobody ever had this like come to Jesus talk with her of, you know what, at the end of the day, if you were out on tour, and trust me, I've done my fair share of tours. I understand how it works in this industry. The show must go on, sort of thing. Yep. But you know what? If we got hit by lightning, if we got hit by a bus, if we got hit by a train, for a day, everybody would be like, oh, that's too bad, and the next day they would have somebody out taking your gig.
Yeah.
And for a week or so, they would talk about, oh, it's so sad that so-and-so is not there anymore. And now there's person 2, and that's who's the next person who's got your gig. The only people that you're not replaceable to are your friends and your family.
Thank you.
And while we're out on tour, or even working in the industry, even if it's not on tour, even if it's in town doing shows, even if it's whatever, involved in the industry and whatever, you wind up not going to funerals. You wind up missing birthdays or anniversaries or weddings or significant others issues or whatever because you're busy with your own thing. How many people do you know that have been married multiple times or multiple relationships because it doesn't go over well with, somebody's partner or husband or wife or whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, that they're not around to be there like, they would like them to be. The industry is the mistress, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard 100%. One for somebody. If they're not involved in the industry, they don't quite get it. But I keep driving this into people's heads and have for many years over and over. When I used to have to talk to people at Electric Tech, the guys would come to me and go, can you talk to this girl that I just brought home and she's living with me now and she doesn't understand why I'm going off on tour? So I'd have to have a talk with a girl going, well, this is what he does. And they'd say, well, I am living here with him now. And it went, it was mainly, it was all girls because back then there was very few women in the industry. But it was the whole idea of I'm here now. Why is he leaving to leave me? Because that's what he did. That's what he did before he met you. So why wouldn't he continue to do it? Well, I'm here. Okay, so what does that mean? He's supposed to become a dog walker? I mean, what? This is how he met you, but they didn't get it. So I had to have that talk and sort of that reality check with them that they realized it. And I think we need to realize we're more than just our jobs. Yeah. We're more than what we previously have done. And we can do so many other things. We've got so many other talents that are yet to be explored. Take this time that we're off and get online and take as many free classes as you can. Take as many free certs as you can. There's so many free schools. There's so many manufacturers that are doing free classes. Those certs are going to make you worth way more when there is time, when there's going to be jobs again, because you're going to be much more qualified than the next person who sat there and watched, The Simpsons for the last year. Nothing wrong with The Simpsons, but it's if you're going to do something and make yourself more marketable, you know what I mean. Just do something to stimulate your mind, but also add to your abilities. What is it you've always wanted to do? Before I left, I was looking online. Somebody had sent me a note and said, "Take a look at this." And I was looking at it, and they were the most amazing sculptures. And this person had always wanted to be a blacksmith. So they've learned over this time to be a blacksmith. But you know what? Not to blacksmith for a horse, but to actually blacksmith for art. Yeah. And the stuff I saw was just outrageous. I'd never seen anything like it before. But that's what they've done.
It was interesting. I still am very close with a lot of the members, former and present, of Buck Cherry. And Keith Nelson from Buck Cherry, who's one of my favorite people in the world, is kind of this Renaissance man. So like if you go into Keith's garage, there's 5 different TIG welders or MIG welders because he likes to weld. He works on his own motorcycles. Like he's that type of guy. And it's like if Keith, I know like if not that Keith would ever be poor, but because he has a great business going for him, but like he literally, if it ever came to that, he has so many other skills underneath of him that he could pivot. And
that's the word though, Mike. Pivot. So
pivot it. Yeah.
There's one thing that we could say here is, and it's applicable to not just this industry, it's everybody.
Yeah.
Find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you're not passionate about. Just find something that you could apply your skills, your dedication to. Because if you were as dedicated to an artist as you usually would be on the road, you have a lot to bring to the table, a lot of value. Even if you're learning something new. I think
also too, I mean, not to cut you off, Greg, but like just a thought, we never say it enough, and not to be self-serving in this moment. But the thing is that this podcast, what we're doing for the future and some of our other companies that Greg and I own, is for the benefit of the greater sum of the good. And it came out of this pandemic. I didn't want to be out a year ago. If you asked me if I was going to have a podcast a year from now, I would have told you out of your fucking mind. Like, why? I would have. I would have told you out of your fucking mind. Like,
but look at how it's turned into something else, right?
Yeah, but it's turned into its own thing.
Yeah, and we'll keep it because you have
love it.
Great relationships with people, and I think there's a lot of value to get from. There's a lot of people hurting, from the musician to the business person out there to somebody in the touring industry to everybody. But a lot of musicians don't know where to go. They're not on the level that you were at with the touring musicians. We're talking to the independent artists that just don't know what to do because they're overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. And then it goes all the way up to the high-ranking touring musicians that are out there playing the huge shows that aren't able to do that anymore. And what we're attempting to do is cover the gamut, and bring that together and show that everybody's in need of something right now. You got to turn outward, look inward, and, just know that this time's going to pass. But at the same point that you might have to get a little more uncomfortable. You get uncomfortable every day. You go out on tour, that's getting uncomfortable. That may be your comfort zone, but to anybody else doing that, it's uncomfortable. So you've already done that. If you could do that, you could do a lot of other things because that takes balls.
That's true.
So that's how I see it, just from on the outside looking in. But what I would like to wrap this up, and if you have anything else to say, that's great. I wanted to kind of drive people who are listening to this to roadiecare.com, and you can get all the information about what Sandy's doing here, and you can contribute as well, and we'll be talking about it in future.
Not only what Sandy's doing, the amazing work Sandy Espinoza is doing.
You can't measure doing. It's obviously immeasurable. It's just in your character.
And we want to. I will pledge this now. Here at the Combine, we are definitely supporters of you guys, and we're going to make sure that continues on moving forward in the future. So you have a friend here, whatever you guys need. anytime you want to come on.
Thank you.
You know,
Love to, and definitely would love to find out more about what you guys are doing, and also your listeners. How can we be of service to them? What do they need? How could maybe we help them? If there's maybe some suggestions that they would like us to be able to fill in that maybe I hadn't thought of where they need assistance, or maybe they've got problems and they need them help solved. Feel free to drop by. We're happy to help. Just let me know what you need. And
definitely.
same with you guys. I want to know how you're doing as well. It's
Definitely,
exciting
definitely.
about what you've got going on. And
Thank
feel
you so
free
much.
to post. I would love to give you guys a page, and you can keep up. I have a page for podcasts and webinars on there. If
Oh, great.
with your permission, I'd love to post you guys up there, because I think it's great for our people to have a hub where they can go to and find all the resources in one place. And certainly you're a very strong resource for them to have. And I think it would definitely help their spirits to know that there's people out there that are just like them, and look at what you've done. And if you can do it, maybe they have a chance in doing something too. You know?
Absolutely. And we're open to that any day of the week. We're still building this. It's coming out strong, though. We're very consistent. So we're going to keep that consistency because we do care. We're all coming from a place of unpredictability, but I got to say, I want, you should embrace that unknown. I know it's scary. Everybody's predicament's different, but again, just reach within and just kind of overcome, because there's nothing else you could do. Don't crawl up in a ball. You got to just fight. So just hang in there and just go for it, man. Just do whatever you got to do to stay afloat, and talk to your friend, talk to the people that are closest to you, that there's a community out there. We want that we want to make sure there's people that care about you out there. So
absolutely. And even if you feel like you don't have anybody that cares, trust me, there is. And you know how people can get really depressed and they think that nobody cares about them? There's always somebody who cares, always. So pick up that phone and call someone. And if you really don't think you have anybody who cares about you, call me.
That number's
I'll talk to you. Right? It's on the website, yeah, absolutely. But don't call me at 4 a.m. Just say hello. Call me during the day would be better to say hello. But if you need to talk, then just call.
If you have anybody call you at 4 a.m., just route them over to me. I'll be up.
I'll do that. God, you guys have been great.
Thank you. Have you? And thank you.
Hung out that long at a Target before without shopping?
Yeah, really.
I have, actually. I have.
Yeah, on tour, of course. It's like, hey, this is the entertainment for today's day off. The Target.
I tell you, you know what? I love Target. I love Costco. I enjoy shopping.
The hot dogs at Costco.
Not even having to buy anything. Hot dogs at Costco. Now you can't buy them without a card. You have to show them your membership card. Oh. And now they're getting rid of the photo department. As of Valentine's Day, there's no more photo department.
Wow. Why?
Yeah. So because it's not bringing enough money, I was told. I was over there yesterday.
They have a new CEO at Costco, and the founders told this guy who's the new CEO. He was thinking about raising the price of the hot dogs. And the founders go, if you ever fucking thinking about, it was in an email. It worded exactly like this. You ever fucking thinking about doing that? We're firing you.
Really?
Yeah, that's like the one thing that they weren't going to budge on was the
hot dogs, okay?
Or I'm gonna fucking kill you.
For $1.50.
That's how it went down. It was on Wait, Don't Tell Me. So, yeah, it was on Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR, so it's got to be true.
Nice.
I believe it. Yeah. I believe it. You know what? That's the best deal in town, man. For $1.50 and a meal, those hot dogs are huge.
Get a drink, get a foot long. It's perfect.
It is, huh? Well, next time you guys are down in my neck of the woods, you let me know. We'll go to Costco, and I will cover hot dogs for all of us.
Make the hot dogs.
Awesome.
I look forward to it.
All right, Sandy, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll be talking real soon.
You take care of yourself. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Great. Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's the heaviest episode we've ever done. I think that is much.
Look at this by next year and just be like, all right, I'm so happy that we tote the line of hope.
It'd be great for next year. And I want to end this kind of on a positive note, because today in the United States, it was 4,000 deaths. That's a new record for this virus. But I want to end it on a positive note. How great would it be if roadiecares.com became the leading force in lobbying for, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call the blessing right now.
Do it, Simpsons.
Exactly. Music Combine figured it out way before anyone else.
Seriously.
I'm going to call it that Sandy Espinoza will be the leading person in lobbying for crew rights and performance professional rights.
She'll be recognized for it because she already is a leader in it because nobody else is doing it to the level.
Fuck yeah.
So we are honored to be able to talk to somebody that is actually an activist, the leading activist in the fight for the crews out there, because there's nobody else that's doing that.
No one at all.
And you know, I can't speak to anything that I do that's as powerful as what she's doing right now. It's a huge humanitarian effort. She's not doing it for any personal gain. She literally, this is what she's like, you know, what's the saint? She's a saint, you know, I mean, in her own right. I'm not trying to kiss anybody's ass here, but like nobody's doing that. Nobody's selfless like that. That's a huge thing.
I mean, you know, selfless and just, especially, you know, I think the performance and the arts get such a bad rap due to the narcissistic nature it can actually, or the vibe that it holds to itself. Yeah, the stigma.
Not appreciated from our government, and I'm not talking
not even the government, man. I just think people in general. I think.
Well, dude,
I think the performance professional community, let's just call it that for what it is, is so underserved in so many fucking ways. We don't even have like a category on health insurance. It's other.
Right. It kind of speaks to what you do. I mean, I'm not trying to give
as a financial advisor, and we're going to talk to Sandy a little bit more about that too.
Nobody does that.
My services out to families too.
Right. Nobody does that
on the straight and narrow
for people. So it's like
totally.
I mean, even with the telemed stuff that we're doing, you know, that's going to be great for the arts out there because it's applicable to everybody. And if we can 100%. Add value and make your life easier and less, you know, more cost efficient, we're going to put it out there for you guys. So
yeah, definitely.
Again,
that's coming down the line. Get ready for telemed.
Yep. Pleasure
as always.
We will reconvene
Saturday.
Later.
Oh yeah, later we can talk. I got a meeting in about. Why am I talking to you about personal shit on here? Anyway, guys, amazing show. A lot of food for thought. Again, go to roadiecare.com. You can find us at the Music Combine now, where you can find our link tree. We're also Music Combine on.
Well, let me just make the musiccombine.com. Just go there, and then the Music Combine on Instagram, and you'll find our link tree there and our State of the Union of this week too. So
yeah, State of the Union on Sunday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Roger. Oh, nobody knows because
no one knows. It's gonna be weeks ago, man. But this was taped the night before the Roger Joseph Manning Jr. episode from Jellyfish comes out. You guys are awesome. Your support is great. We are here in 2021 and ready to rock it, guys. So lights at the end of the tunnel. Stay safe. Stay cool. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.